UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy starship has been designed.
Transporter Chief, beam our listeners aboard. Welcome to Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I am head of the Starfleet, I can't say that word, head of Starfleet Veterinary School. Veterinary.
There you go.
Yeah,
Bravo.
It's a weird, I think we just call it the vet. Anyway, I'm head of the Starfleet Vet School this week, and my name's Joe Keegan, and I'm joined with two other Starfleet officers. We have, Councillor Amy Nelson, also known as Typhoid Mary, and Chief Recreational Officer Ria Papagiorgio. Amy, Ria, how are you guys? Amy, you go first since you're a sick wee child, aren't you?
Yeah, let me insert cough. Gosh.
Oof.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
okay. And how many have you smoked a day since you were 15?
Oh, man, it's congestion, but thankfully not COVID. I got tested and it's negative. I'm on, hopefully, the mend, so I just don't sound too well.
You sound like the cigarette smoking man from the X-Files.
Yeah, I'm the Marlboro woman.
Oh, husky. Yeah. My name's Amy Nelson. Ria, that was my American accent, listeners, if you didn't know already. So there you go. And Ria, how are you?
Well, I am doing better than Amy, for sure. Healthy and not quite well rested, but healthy.
Do you want to share what you were telling us earlier with our listeners?
About becoming a pilot, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have made the decision to quit my cushy desk job and become a commercial pilot. But that's going to be a long time and a whole ton of money in the making. So,
no, that's very cool. Do you want to maybe share with the listeners what flights you'll be on and what airlines you'll work with, just so we can all avoid them?
when that time comes.
Our listeners know how much of a pack lid you are, so being 35,000 feet in the air, maybe not a wise decision.
When the time comes. Sure, I'll just post my schedule on social media because, I don't foresee any issues coming out of that.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest.
So, Joe,
yes.
What's going on at vet school? What's going on with Cooper?
Oh, yes. So, listeners, I've had a bit of a hell of a week. Not in any particular order. I jammed my finger in the car, and I'm holding my finger up as if you can see it. I know this is like radio, so you can't.
Listeners, Joe's giving us the bird.
Yeah, no, I was trying really hard not to, so yeah, not doing that. So yeah, I've got a really black and blue nail, and I'm thinking it might fall off at some point. So that was very painful, and there was this old woman talking to me at the time, and I couldn't react, like cry or scream or anything. I just had to like hold my hand.
Suck it up.
Yeah, it was very horrible. Also, my little cockapoo Cooper, a couple of months ago, he got bitten by another dog, and ever since then, he's done everything he can to try and avoid other dogs, which on Wednesday included walking up the steep verge and over an old lime kiln, which is a big old stone structure. Over the top of it, it's around about 15 feet high, and for whatever reason, he's gone off the edge. I think maybe he's not seen the edge, or he's maybe been chasing a bird or a squirrel or something, and he's landed, so he's dropped 15 feet, he's landed 8 feet from the base of it, so he's gone off like in a parabola kind of shape, and as the physics teacher I did all the calculations, he's landed at 22 miles an hour.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it means I'm getting my metric and my imperial all confused, but I've memorised these details. So I think he's ran off the edge at 2.5 metres per second, which would cause him, given his time of flight, to land 8 feet from the base. Mm-hmm. Landed paws first and hit his face, and I can still hear the wee scream that he made. It's kind of blood chilling. And there's like, he smashed his face all up. There's blood all over the ground and he can't move. He's just in this kind of face down position. So we had to carry him home and take him to an emergency vet, and miraculously he hasn't broken anything. He's just got lots of muscle damage, like torn ligaments and things. Oof. So being the wee dog that would always run about and throw himself in the air to catch the ball, he's hobbling about like a wee old man now. He's making remarkable progress. He's just a wee trooper.
Yeah, that video you sent with him walking with the ball, just step, 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 just so painful it looked.
Yeah, I know. It's a wee shadow of him, of his former self, but he is on the mend, and I don't doubt that within a couple of weeks he'll be back to, I don't know, chasing the rabbits down the field. So yeah, that's been my week. It's been quite eventful.
Wow. Well, I won't complain about just having to work every day then.
Logs accessed.
So we have from Galaxy Class number 48, our Batleth battle that paired the booby trap with the vengeance factor. And Vera Bible writes, but Ria, one allows you to say booby trap over and over. So that's obviously the winner. LOL, JK.
He said booby.
Booby. Thanks, Vera.
Why is that funny?
Because you don't have any.
Yeah. Yet.
Or do you?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I've not put on that much lockdown weight, so.
Need the man bro.
Yeah, the moobs. No moobs for me.
No moobs yet.
Thank you, Vera.
Well, on the same episode, Paul Wright Jr. comments, okay, I gotta disagree with y'all as far as Geordie is concerned. While I'll concede that some of the dialogue was cringy, I never considered him to be creepy or inappropriate in any way. He just wanted to consult with a professional who happened to be a woman and attractive, and the poor guy fell for her. It's not like he went in there with that intention. I always identified with Geordie because I was a shy teenager that was awkward around girls during the time this aired, so I was always rooting for him.
Oh.
Yeah, Paul, I totally get that, and I think that's kind of an endearing thing about Geordie is he is just so awkward around women.
Exactly. And to his point, it wasn't his intention, So I think you have to weigh that into all things. So thanks, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah, Paul, I don't think we were getting at the fact that he was being creepy. I think the scenario was kind of creepy as looked through from the 2021 vision that we have. Yeah, so thanks for your comment. Geordie is not creepy, for the record.
Too many Riker holodeck simulations have tainted the holodeck computer, I think.
Quite possibly.
This is the captain. Senior officers will report to my ready room immediately.
Okay, listeners, we're going to continue our character profile series, and we're continuing with the TNG secondary characters, having done all the main bridge crew, and we're going to talk about Q today. So, I think the first thing to ask you guys is, when I say Q, what's the first thing that comes to mind? How would you describe him? Go, Amy.
All right. Well, I will use the words of Jean-Luc Picard in Cupid when he says he's devious and amoral and unreliable and irresponsible and definitely not to be trusted.
It's a very good point. What about you, Ria?
Pain in the butt. My first thought.
More of a menace.
Yeah, just an irritant. Actually, that's how Captain Kirk described Cyrano Jones in the original series, was an irritant. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, I think, obviously, omnipotent comes to mind. And obnoxious. I got stuck on, old words to describe him. So, yeah, he kind of confuses me, like being the lowly human I am with limited intelligence. It's hard to understand something that is omnipotent, as Q kind of portrays himself to be. So, would you, if you had unlimited power, like the power of the Q, what would you do? Would you be that obnoxious and kind of cruel and sadistic in some ways? Would you do what? Would you, though?
Well, if he's immortal. Yeah. I mean, if you're immortal, you're going to get bored. You got to do stuff for fun. And, if you ever, like when you were a kid, if you ever played with bugs or burn them with a magnifying glass or whatever kind of thing, I think it's the same thing with Q and us lowly humans. Sorry, we lonely humans.
Would you consider Q to be a villain in Star Trek? We had the discussion on All Good Things, if you listen to our latest episode, and we were sort of talking about what is a villain. And as I was reading and thinking about Q, he could be considered a villain, but he also could not. Sort of like an anti-hero.
Yes. I think more of an anti-hero than a villain, because he's really not out to get the crew or to get Picard. He just likes them for some reason, and especially Picard. He kind of has like a man crush on Picard, and he just wants to play.
It was interesting, again, doing the research and reading why Q wasn't as successful on Deep Space Nine. They tried him, right? They put him on. He was only once. But Berman was saying, it was the chemistry between Q and Picard, de Lancie and Stewart, that made that work. And so that's why Q was used so much on TNG and not on Deep Space Nine. I think they tried, and he had 3 episodes in Voyager.
Yes.
But only 1 in Deep Space Nine because of that chemistry, because Q was in love with Picard.
Yes.
I mean, there was just something there.
There's a Shakespearean aesthetic to their whole chemistry, isn't there? They're kind of adversaries. To come back to your point about him being a villain, I think some aspects of what he does are villainous. Like introducing the Enterprise to the Borg in Q Who, way before they would have naturally met the Borg. You could argue that maybe introducing them gave Starfleet time to prepare for a potential Borg incursion. But basically, how many people did Q cause to become assimilated by the Borg because of that too early an introduction?
Oh, yeah. Was it Picard at the end of that episode that said he did the right thing, but for the wrong reasons? So going back to the villain anti-hero thing, I mean, a villain would have taken them to meet the Borg and then left them there. But I think Q, whilst playing around with Picard and the Enterprise crew, it seemed like, and I just rewatched that one this morning, that he wanted Picard to basically to look at him, to look at Q as, as a more powerful being. Oh, what am I trying to say? Almost like to get the respect or the awe from Picard that he felt he deserved. And it was when Picard didn't do that he snapped his fingers and flung the Enterprise out to the Borg cube. But then, he's got that affection for them, and so he sent him back home safe and sound.
Look at Tapestry as well, where he doesn't save Picard, but he's always there. It's like he's always there watching the background, kind of keeping an eye out for Picard and by extension the Enterprise crew. So does he play a kind of shepherding role almost? Like
they're his pets, like if Picard were to fall off of a limestone kiln or whatever,
yes,
he would be there to pick him up and carry him home and then make fun of him as he hobbled around, which is kind of what happened in Tapestry.
Yeah, if Picard was to do the Cooper maneuver. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. I think it's when I mentioned that he kind of shepherds them along and he's always there watching the background, it's kind of obvious from the fact that we meet him when we first meet the crew and encounter at Farpoint, and then in All Good Things, that those bookends, that the what was it he says, that the game has never ended, or the trial never ended. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like he's always just been watching from afar.
Or not afar. And that's a really cool thing about Q, was he bookended The Next Generation. But then his appearance in Deep Space Nine, his appearances in Voyager, he just and it just kind of weaves him throughout the fabric of 24th century, Federation. And actually, what I thought was really cool that I discovered in my research is that one appearance that he had in Deep Space Nine. At the end of it, he mentioned something like, maybe I should pay Picard a visit. And the very next week is when Tapestry aired.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Never knew that before.
Yeah. So talking about his omnipotence, I find it ironic that we have this Q, which is a godlike character, coming from Gene Roddenberry, a very well-known atheist. So why do you think we even have this godlike character in Star Trek? And also, we had it in the original series, right, Ria? Trelane.
Yes, Trelane. And, I saw somewhere, where was it? But I did see in my research that, and I hope I'm not stealing anyone's obscure fact, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard the story that Q was basically created because they needed some filler for Encounter at Farpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And, Gene Roddenberry came up with this character, and some of the other producers on the show, Rick Berman, I forget who all.
Jerry Taylor.
Taylor. Yeah, they were not happy with that because they
No.
thought, this is basically just Trelane.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to change a lot of things, and Roddenberry is like, no, leave it how it is. The people will love it. Which actually is kind of funny because I thought Q was the stupidest thing in the world when TNG first aired. And it wasn't until I kind of got serious about watching all of TNG a few years back that I ended up just loving him by the end, and now I do. But yeah, that is a very recurring theme with Roddenberry, an atheist. But you can be an atheist and still be very interested in godlike beings,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't necessarily believe in them.
I suppose they don't really portray Q as a god. They just portray him as being very, very powerful, having godlike powers. And even
compared to us.
Yeah, even in Encounter at Farpoint, they don't portray him as being particularly omnipotent, just being very powerful. Because even I was watching it earlier today, and when they first meet him, then the Enterprise kind of runs away at high warp and is pursued by the sphere of Q power. If Q was Q playing with them and pretending to be slower than he actually was. If Q wanted to catch them, Q would have just clicked his fingers and just been there. So yeah, he's not all powerful. I suppose later there's a question for us to discuss about the extent, what we think the extent of his powers are. That's some interesting points that you make. In terms of obscure facts, let's go on to that because we've mentioned obscure facts a couple of times already. What are our obscure facts, Ria? What's your one?
So I came across some interesting ones, but one I had was a production one, and it was when they were filming, which episode was it? Was it Q Who? No, it wasn't Q Who. Oh, dadgummit, I didn't write that down in my notes.
Q Who is the one with the Borg.
What's the next one?
Hiding Q?
Yeah. Oh.
No, Hiding Q is the
Deja
first
Q.
one.
Deja Q.
Yeah.
Oh, Ria, you take such good notes. So, while they were filming Deja Q, there were a couple of, kind of difficulties in the filming. And one of them was that the nudity scene, they had tried a number of times to film that without John de Lancie actually having to be naked. And finally, he was just frustrated enough. He said, anyone offended by nudity, leave. He stripped down and they filmed the scene in one take. And wow. When he's, kind of on his side there, they actually filmed that with him standing upright in front of a blue screen. And then they created that in post-production with, of course, the captain strategically positioned in the right place. And then the very last scene with the mariachi band, which is one that just cracks me up. That one also took a number of takes because John de Lancie was so over the top that the cast and crew just kept bursting out laughing. So finally the director changed the camera angles, whatever, if you watch that scene, you'll notice that everyone's backs are turned toward the camera because they couldn't stop laughing. And you see Michael Dorn at one point actually drops his head down because he just couldn't hold his laughter back.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Amy, What's your obscure fact? Please don't have stolen mine.
Joe, why don't you say yours?
No. I'm the host. I insist that you go first. I can always edit you out.
Okay. I'm going to say where Q came from.
The name.
Or do you want to?
No, you go for it.
No. You do it. Okay. My obscure fact is that 8 out of the 13 episodes use the letter Q and usually form some kind of pun. 8 out of 13. So they were pretty creative, not only coming up with stories, because Jerry Taylor found it very difficult to write for Q because he's supposed to be omnipotent and all powerful and stuff like that. But it was Rick Berman that actually was like, no, it's fun to write for him. Yeah. So I think he's definitely a Rick Berman baby, but 8 out of 13 of those episodes have Q in them.
The names have Q in them. So they're going to be Encounter at Farpoint, Tapestry, All Good Things, and then the one from Lower Decks.
Veritas.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one.
In Voyager.
Oh, yeah.
It was 3. Death Wish.
Yes.
Yes.
See,
good job.
Me. I must have read that list earlier and remembered it. Oh, that was not my obscure fact.
I know, but Joe, what is your obscure fact?
Yes, Joe, what could it be?
Yes, well, the naming of the Q character, where that comes from.
Wherever could that come from?
So, if listeners, I know you'll all have read Memory Alpha, so you all know this obscure fact, which makes it not particularly obscure.
I did not know this.
I did not know this. That's why we have Memory Alpha.
I didn't either.
Gene Roddenberry named Q after a Star Trek fan called Janet Quarton. And Janet ran the Star Trek fan club in the UK at the time. Apparently she's an English fan, but apparently she lives in the Highlands of Scotland somewhere. Mm-hmm. And Gene Roddenberry has stayed with her when he visited, apparently, among other Star Trek actors. So actually she's got a Facebook profile. So I was thinking we could reach out and invite her on.
That would be
my
awesome.
gosh, yes.
Yeah. So that is my obscure fact.
That is a very awesome fact. When I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, Joe's going to freak out.
Yeah, who would have thought Q is Scottish?
That's right.
Could you imagine, though, being a Star Trek fan and just doing your wee Star Trek fan club and doing your wee newsletters back in the 80s where it's probably typed on a typewriter or a very early computer and mailing it out to the people that subscribe to your newsletter, and then being discovered by Gene Roddenberry and him being inspired by what you were doing to then name a very important character.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a whole continuum after you.
Yeah.
That's right.
So cool.
A whole continuum, a whole species.
It's cool with a Q.
Cool with a Q.
Yes.
Can you spell cool with Q?
Love it.
If you're Scottish.
Q-O-O-L.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Like the way Stewie Griffin says cool whip. Cool whip.
Cool whip.
Cool whip. Interesting. Amy, you're looking blank as if, who's Stewie Griffin?
Yeah.
Family Guy?
No.
There's
I even know
Genius
who's
Baby.
Griffin.
No.
His head looks like a football.
No.
Indeed.
And he says cool whip.
Cool whip. He pronounces
is that
the
why
H.
you guys say wheel wheaton?
Wheel wheaton.
Perhaps.
Listeners, our third topic for today is the greatest impact. So, from all let's limit it to the 8 times that we see Q during the TNG run. What has been the biggest impact that either Q has had on Picard as an individual character, or the whole crew, the ship, or the franchise, or the Federation? What do we reckon? I think, I'm going to go first because I think I've maybe mentioned mine already. It's introducing the Borg to Starfleet.
Yeah.
Arguably too early. Because Picard says, no, we're ready for whatever challenges lie ahead, we'll deal with them. It turns out we're not, because Picard, a little bit later on, gets assimilated by the Borg and kills 40,000 people or so.
I was going back and forth between that and the episodes Encounter at Farpoint and All Good Things, because I think that impact that has on humanity of that curiosity and helping us to try and grow into something that they see our potential I think that has the greatest impact, at least on Picard, and thus, therefore, on the crew that serves with him. Because Picard has dealt with Q, and especially in All Good Things, where it's like, just he takes him to the primordial stage of the goo and the glop, and I love that. That's one of my favorite scenes, because it's like, here we are. Oh, and humanity didn't start, but where do we get to go from? I love that whole idea. And I think just knowing that we have potential to be better, and that it comes from Q showing Picard and therefore us, I think that's the greatest impact.
I've always been struck by that idea as well, that they kind of portray humanity as kind of more important almost than any other species. It's why Q is taking an interest in Picard and humanity, and potentially not taking interest in Romulans or Klingons or the Dominion or the Breen or whoever. Why humanity? And it's not just Star Trek that does it. Stargate did it as well, with the humans being the fifth race. There's something about humanity. I know we're the only species that are currently watching the show, unless the transmissions have reached another society.
More importantly,
already.
Humanity is the species writing the show.
True, so we're going to portray us in a more positive light. Is there's something that I'm kind of intrigued by? Are we more than do we have something? Where's our evolution?
Are we just ego?
Yeah,
See,
I think it's more that than anything else.
I see that a little differently, because you have Q, who takes an interest in Picard and the Enterprise, but then, who's to say that in the Star Trek series that airs on Andoria, that there's not Q that takes an interest in the Andorians and interferes here and there, and maybe there's Q, and I'm talking about different Qs, but they're all called Q. Maybe there's a Klingon Q, and maybe he goes by Kailesh, which could start with a Q if you spelled it that way. I kind of think there's probably different Qs for different, that have different pet planets or pet species. I don't know. Just my theory.
Quite possibly. Ria, your turn.
Well, the biggest impact, maybe on the Federation, I kind of agree with you, Joe, was the introduction of the Borg. But biggest impact on Picard personally, I would say, would be in the episode Tapestry, which, clearly Picard still had a lot of regrets from his younger years, and it sounds like he was, quite the cad. But it wasn't until Q put him in that kind of Charles Dickensy situation where he was able to, change his past and saw the effect that it had on his future, that he realized how important even all the mistakes he made were. And I remember watching Tapestry, maybe 10 some years ago. And at the time I was living in Detroit. I was kind of at the rock bottom of life. But that episode just, like, Amy, I don't cry. Things don't, like, even Nepenthe, I didn't cry. But that episode, I remember watching it then and just, like, started sobbing because it really put everything into perspective for me. So maybe that's Q's biggest impact on me, but I think on Picard as well.
It's interesting you say that. It's one reason I don't enjoy Tapestry, because it invokes that feeling of regret and all the stupid decisions that you've made over your life, all the things that I could or had the potential to turn out really badly. Like if you're on a night out in Glasgow and you decide, or you've run out of money and you're a student, so you walk home like 15 miles. And it would just take one stupid person to come out with a knife and stab you, then you're dead. As the worst case scenario thinker that I am, that's what kind of goes round in my head. What could have happened? All those silly split second decisions that you make.
That's interesting that you have like a negative reaction to that, and mine is so positive. It's like kind of like Picard's, I think, that you pull out one thread and the whole tapestry falls apart. Maybe if that one time you didn't walk the 15 miles home, you wouldn't have learned, I don't know, not to do that.
Not to do that and potentially die. Yeah.
Yeah, or something. I mean, well, just anytime we have incursions into the temporal timeline, there's always unforeseen consequences. So you wouldn't be here sitting with Ria and Typhoid Mary, Joe, if you hadn't taken
that's
that
true.
15-mile walk.
I totally get that. So this sum total of all my decisions throughout life that have got me to this position now, and I've just realised why that's the episode's called Tapestry. Because if you pull one little thread, the whole thing unravels. It didn't occur to me until you just said that. So
They say it in the episode, but okay.
I must have missed that. Interesting. I've kind of mentioned this already today about the extent of Q's powers, because we see him having kind of variable powers, and it's interesting. What do we think? How powerful is Q? Like, could he, click his fingers and the universe doesn't exist? Could he click his fingers and the multiverse and all the dimensions don't exist? How far does his power extend? And I suppose that's going to come on to a discussion on his origins. How has he evolved? Did they just blink into existence and they were the Q continuum and had always been that powerful? Or is it a bit like the Ancients of Stargate, second Stargate reference, where they were kind of a humanoid species and then evolved and let go of their corporeal form and became energy and dwelled in a different level of existence? So I know that's a big-minded questions that we possibly collectively aren't smart enough to conceive.
I've got the answers. What are you talking about, Joe?
I'm not. I just feel a bit mundane.
So I think that the Q as a continuum precede this universe that we live in / multiverse. In fact, I think, a Q snapped her fingers and bang, all of a sudden there is a singularity, inflation, expansion, and the universe that we know it. I do think that they are multidimensional. I don't think that they were humanoid, because that would just be our hubris as the ones writing the series. But
agreed.
Perhaps, they existed in some other universe, whatever, and like you said, Joe, kind of evolved past any kind of corporeal form, kind of cracked the secrets of time and space. Because when we've seen their continuum, which maybe has only been in Voyager, it's a whole different plane of existence.
I love the idea that, imagine our universe expands to a point and then it starts to contract and becomes a new singularity point in space that then undergoes another big bang and becomes a new universe.
Except that the rate of expansion is increasing, not decreasing.
I know we know that now, but if it did, previously to our existence, did contract back to a point, I'd love the fact that the Q were potentially a species that were left over from the previous incarnation of the universe. So, they saw their universe contract, and so they decided to leave that universe, and then another big bang happened, and then they came back in.
Or inflationary bubbles. And I'm not describing it really well, but that's one theory right now that because evidence indicates that there was a period of rapid inflation after the Big Bang that preceded kind of the normal expansion of the universe, and that potentially there could be bubbles throughout the universe where there's rapid expansion and another universe is spawned. There was a Deep Space Nine episode that kind of addressed that a little bit, but maybe again there was some previous type of existence, type of universe, whatever, during which time the Q came to be and became omnipotent and all that stuff. And maybe a Q farts and expansion happens and a new universe is born.
Well, there's a non-Star Trek-y thought.
We could all just be a Q fart, and that's why Q likes humanity so much.
So do we think that the Q continuum is a place somewhere? Or do you think that that's too limiting? Do they exist in a certain place and time? Because when you say a galaxy, that's like, okay, our galaxy has a place and a time. Does the Q continuum exist?
Somewhere like in the American Civil War.
It exists, but outside of time and not in a corporeal space. Ooh, maybe it's the dark energy that's causing the accelerated expansion rate. Maybe that's like Q continuum related.
Or is it an alternate dimension or a strange layer of subspace, or is it just everywhere?
Everywhere, because it's not. They're not limited by time or space. I mean,
and
if
they're
we
all
have a
connected, so each Q individual entity is connected to every other one. So wherever they all are at any one, whatever universe they're all in, they can all just.
Yes.
I think that. See,
this
I told
is
you,
making my brain turn to mush when
it's like
it
the
already
Great Link,
is.
but non-corporeal.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I kept thinking of Odo and the Great Link, and that I can understand. But with the Q, when you say an individual, yet everywhere, that doesn't make sense to me. Because if I'm an individual, even in non-corporeal, like my brain thought patterns, right? Thought waves, they exist in a certain space and time. So if my thought waves are who I am and defines me, then how can I be spread out everywhere?
Well, you're
I told you we weren't smart enough to understand it.
Remember the original series episode Operation Annihilate that had like the fried eggs?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that they were all cells of a single entity, but they weren't physically connected. It kind of could be
they
like
were
that.
all like brain cells, weren't they? One landed on Spock's back, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
And Kirk's nephew, who we never see again.
Oh, that's right, because his brother lived on the planet and he died.
Yes. Yeah.
It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
So I think my headcanon is quite happy to go with the fact that Q, the continuum, were a remnant species from an old universe before that universe contracted and then underwent another big bang to form our current universe. And then they came back to see how this universe... But they can also travel through time, can't they? Because they took Voyager back to the Big Bang.
Mm-hmm. And that's where all the times that Q appears on TNG, like as far as we know, it could be, the same moment for Q. It's over the span of 7+ years for our corporeal, humanoid characters. But for Q, heck, maybe all good things happen before Encounter at Farpoint for Q.
So Q understands the linear notion of time, unlike the wormhole aliens.
Yes. But he seems like he's played with humans more than perhaps the wormhole aliens.
Okay, so who wins in a fight? Q or Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet fully bedecked with jewels or Infinity Stones? Could Thanos click his fingers and click Q out of existence?
Ooh.
I could see Thanos clicking his fingers and Q making it so Thanos clicks himself out of existence, and then Q keeps the bejeweled glove and then punches Cisco with it.
That's the trickster of Q. Yep.
Because Q's a bit like Loki.
Yes.
So who wins, Thor or Q? And why is he called the God of Thunder, but he fires lightning? These are the big questions, listeners, that we are attempting to answer.
Thor, I don't know who would win, Thor or Q.
My money's on Q.
Or Thanos.
Or Corbin Burnson Q.
Ah.
He was such a hottie back then. Oh my.
Okay, so given our collective intelligence has not really answered any of those questions, listeners, please let us know what your headcanon tells you about the origins of Q or the extent of their powers. Whether
I gave
they're
you the
limited.
answers, Joe.
Yeah, but they were rubbish answers. I gave you an F for your answers.
Your face is rubbish, Joe.
True, I know.
Joe, I am very impressed that you You must have some Q powers in you to even come up with the questions. I mean, just the thought of asking those questions shows Q-like intelligence.
Well, do you know what? I did think of the questions, but I've dumbed them down for the outline so you guys would understand them.
Thank you, Joe.
The questions were like in themselves multidimensional.
Right.
And the English language isn't so good
Wasn't
for
sufficient.
No.
asking multidimensional questions. Now you write kind of on a line left to right. Imagine a multidimensional question that is on a line left to right, but on a line up and down and through time and space. And
Yeah.
Q makes
Amy,
things go.
I see the pressure inside your frontal cortex just increasing.
Yes.
Has it made your
about to
cold
explode?
Has it made your cold go away?
Yep, it's gone.
That'll clear your sinuses.
Yeah, but your husky raspiness is with us forever. Okay, listeners, this is maybe weirdly perhaps the most exciting question I'm going to ask because I'm very intrigued by this. Even though every time I mention this show, I always say I don't like it. I don't not like it. There's things that irritate me about the Picard show, and you know that, and it's fine because we all have opinions. So we all know that John de Lancie is going to reprise the character of Q in season 2 of Picard. What's that going to be like? Why is Q back? Why is he visiting Picard? Will he recognise that Picard isn't Picard anymore? He's a synthetic. He's a biological android, whatever that is. What's he there for? And why do we see that image of the kind of 90s era LA skyline with the highways and freeways and motorways or whatever you call them on the Picard season 2 poster?
Because time is broken.
We know this also. Time is broken. What is broken about time?
We'll find out.
Well, yeah, I know, but we're trying to spitball what we think.
Oh, we're speculating. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I think my speculation is that this is another example of Q, picking up Picard after he's fallen off the kiln or whatever. It's where something's gone wrong and Q is actually kind of there to help his little pets. But Guinan's going to be back too. So I'm hoping we get some backstory on the whole Q and Guinan, relationship there, which I think happened in another dimension.
Oh, you think Alarians are in a different dimension?
They have knowledge of stuff. I wonder if there was like a Q somewhere in their ancestry that perhaps imparted some, multi-dimensional capabilities to the Alarians.
Like Olivia Dabo's character.
Mm-hmm.
In True Q.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What happens if you have one human parent and one Q parent? Do those Q powers get handed down over the generations? Or was it one Elorian parent, one Q parent, and so the Elorians getting endowed with kind of a weird sixth sense about time?
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
You would assume that a Q and a human, that the baby would have powers because Q wanted to have Janeway's child.
Mm-hmm.
So we can assume that that's true.
I mean, look at what happens when a human and a Betazoid breed, or a human and a Vulcan. You kind of get a diluted mix of the two.
But is it the same when it's an interdimensional omnipotent being breeding with a biological? Can the omnipotent being not just have whatever kind of baby they want?
What about in The Child with Troy, where you had a non-corporeal being, or not the child? Yeah, no.
Yeah,
the child.
Yeah. You had a non-corporeal being that mated with a half human, half Betazed.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that question, Joe, and trying to answer that, saying, okay, well, we've seen Q as the role of, what would you say, like protector of the humanity and trying to, make them be better and like I said, the pet. Or we've seen Q give, say, like Picard or Riker, like a second chance. Like, what would you do if you had powers, Riker? What would you do, Picard, if you had a second chance, a real heart? So I think those tropes have already been done, but yet that's sort of a Q thing. So I'm almost wondering if season 2 is going to be somewhat of a tapestry type of season where he takes Picard back and they have to fix something and then it comes out okay. I don't know.
When because in the trailer we see Annika Hansen, without any of the Borg implants. So when the Hansens were assimilated by the Borg, was that before or after Q Who? When the Enterprise first encountered the Borg cube? Because what I'm wondering
way
is
after, because it was Q Who, and then Starfleet sent out and people started studying the Borg.
Okay,
and so that's where Annika's parents were.
Because maybe Q Who didn't happen or something in Picard season 2. And so the encounter with the Borg was delayed, and that's why we see Annika
with no implants.
Yeah.
That would unravel everything. I don't want that to happen.
Well, time's broken, though. So
they have to go back and fix it.
Q and Picard have to go,
Oh,
to maybe? 1990s LA.
Yep.
How fun.
Which, where Q Who was written.
Yeah.
They go back into the writer's room and say, no, sorry.
I'm very confused. I think there's more to the poster than we maybe realise. Mm-hmm. Or is it one of these things where they've thrown as an insignificant piece of information that we become fixated on?
Were there any whales in the poster?
No whales, just lots of, what do you call them? Highways or freeways? What's the difference?
They're the same.
Oh.
One's high, one's free.
They're exactly the same.
Both are ways. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I wonder why it's LA, just because of Chateau Picard? I mean, that's outside of LA, but usually the city of Starfleet is San Francisco.
I have no idea. I'm very intrigued, though, and I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Joe is so excited for Picard season 2.
I'm very excited about all Star Trek coming out. Yeah. And then it's always afterwards that I could be pleasantly surprised or disappointed.
Well, you'll have to help me with my Picardigo boards this next season. Because it's going to be awesome.
That was fun.
Okay, do we have any favourite moments or quotes? Let's go with quotes. Not moments, you have to go with quotes. I'm limiting your choices here.
Good job, because I only chose a quote.
And what quote would that be, Amy?
That Q is talking to Picard and says, if you can't take a little bloody nose, maybe you ought to go back home and crawl under your bed. It's not safe out here. It's wondrous, with treasures to satiate desires both subtle and gross, but it's not for the timid. I love that he says that, because too many times I feel like we take the extreme of space is super dangerous, we shouldn't be out there, or let's go exploration, nothing could go wrong. This is like down the middle of the road. Mm-hmm. This is, it's wondrous, but you better be careful because there's some scary things out there. So I really like just how tempered the advice is.
Because Star Trek kind of portrays space as being almost safe.
Yeah.
Compared to like the Alien movies, where space is dark and cold and very, very deadly because there's evil creatures that are going to kind of plant parasites in you that will burst out. Ria, what about you? What's your favourite quote?
Well, before I get to my favourite quote, just continuing that thread, when I first watched Enterprise, which was just a couple years ago, that struck me from the get-go. It was like, oh my gosh, space is dangerous and they're in uncharted territory and they're like, it was terrifying.
They did a good job in Enterprise with that.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes came from Deja Q, and there are so many hilarious one-liners in Deja Q. Q is just like, John de Lancie is freaking phenomenal in Deja Q. But this quote comes from, they've got this planet and the moon suddenly fell out of its orbit and it's going to collide with the planet and kill them all. And in the meantime, Q has appeared aboard the Enterprise devoid of his powers. But of course, the crew doesn't believe it. So Picard says, return that moon to its orbit. I have no powers. Cue the ordinary. Cue the liar. Cue the misanthrope. Cue the miserable. Cue the desperate. What must I do to convince you people? Die. Oh, very clever, Worf. Eat any good books lately? Just love that one. And Worf says die, and they cut to Riker, who's just like smirking, and then Q's relationship with Worf, treat him like some dumb animal. I don't know. That episode cracks me up the more I watch it. How about you, Joe?
Do you know what? That was my exact one there. It's Worf saying, what must I do to convince you people? Die.
Yeah. Well, we should have acted it out together.
I think I'm going to go with Tapestry, where Picard wakes up and it's all white, and Picard sees Q and says, Q, what is going on? Q says, I told you, you're dead. This is the afterlife, and I'm God. Picard says, you are not God. Then Q, blasphemy, you're lucky I don't cast you out or smite you or something. The bottom line is, your life ended about 5 minutes ago under the inept administrations of Dr. Beverly Crusher. Picard says, no, I am not dead because I refuse to believe that the afterlife is run by you. The universe is not so badly designed.
Amen.
There you go.
It's just another really good example of the repartee between those two amazing actors.
Yes. Always so clever.
Yeah.
Incoming transmission.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show and hope you'll join the Facebook group Federation Council Chambers. You're welcome to start conversations with us or add any general Star Trek info you want to share with the group.
If you'd like to send us an email, you can email the network at galaxyclass@ufp.earth, and we will read your email on the show.
So don't use any bad words. Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcasts with our master feed by searching United Federation of Podcasts. This way you won't miss any of our fine shows like All Good Things, Franchise Fatigue, Always Hold On to Arrow, History with the Szilagys, Sasquatch, and Infinite Diversity. So, Amy, where can people find you when your brain is not exploding and spreading typhoid Mary diseases and sickness and pestilence across the multiverse?
Well, when I'm
Harsh.
not doing that, you can find me here on the network hosting All Good Things. I'm also on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, and of course on Facebook in the Federation Council Chambers. And Joe, where can people find you when you are stitching up Cooper and playing veterinarian?
Do you know what? I have, you know this already, that I've watched all of Grey's Anatomy within the past, few months. So, I'm a proper medical expert. I know you and Ken had Mahendran on as a guest the other day.
Yeah, we should have you. Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably wipe the floor with Mahendran, to be honest, with my medical knowledge. So yeah, that's why I'm looking after Cooper ever so well, and he's made such a miraculous recovery. But when I'm not doing that, you can tweet me on the Twitter at JoeyJoe77UK. You can email me, joepodcasts@gmail.com, or you can get me on the Federation Council Chambers. And Ria, where can people contact you when you're not leaving your corporeal existence behind to become an omnipotent being?
Well, when I'm not leaving my corporeal existence behind, what's that called? Ascension?
Ascension, yes.
Yes.
While I'm still working on my ascension here, you can find me on the Federation Council Chambers. You can even send me an email if you have that antiquated technology at riapod47@gmail.com, and I will most likely read your email on the show.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, which you know you do, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/UFPearth. That's patreon.com/UFPEARTH to get all the details. We have 4 different levels, starting at just $1 per month, and would appreciate any support that you can give us.
We'd like to recognize our executive producers, Brandon Shea Mutella, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore, and Tony Robinson. We would also like to thank Zach Tripp for our opening and closing music, and Tony Robinson for amazing artwork each and every week.
Thank you for beaming aboard the Galaxy class, and until next time...
Human! Play Dom Jot, human! Stay classy, Galaxy.
Great joy and gratitude.
Muzzle it.
Engage.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.